Once upon a time, there lived two friends named Obiangeli and Chimampa. Obiangeli and Chimampa were best of friends who married two brothers. For years, the two families lived in unity till calamity befell Obiangeli, who lost her husband to the cold hands of death. In their village, once a man dies, his brother is obligated by tradition to marry his late brother's wife. This is only applicable in cases where the woman has a child for her husband before his demise. If a woman failed to have a child for her husband before he died, she was considered free to marry any other man that came for her hand in marriage. Only the birth of a baby ties a widow to her late husband's brother. Obiangeli and Chimampa did not see this coming, as they were so happy to marry their husbands who were brothers, as they saw this as a way of solidifying their friendship, as not only would they remain best of friends, but they would become a part of the same family. When Obiangeli's husband died, Chimampa, although sad for her best friend's loss, was focused on what would happen, as Obiangeli was already pregnant for her late husband before he died. Chimampa could not help but wish for the termination of Obiangeli's pregnancy, as that would make her free to marry any other man in the village. She approached Obiangeli one day as a friend to propose the termination of the pregnancy, and Obiangeli flared up as she could not believe that her best friend would suggest such a terrible thing. "How can I kill my own child?" Obiangeli asked Chimampa in a disappointing tone as she walked out on her angrily. When Chimampa saw that Obiangeli was unwilling to terminate the pregnancy, she began to act hostile towards her. She kept away from Obiangeli and even refused to help her through her difficult pregnancy. This sowed a seed of discord in Obiangeli's heart, as the once best friends slowly became sworn enemies. Not long afterwards, Obiangeli gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Her friend Chimampa never visited Obiangeli or showed any form of excitement at the birth of Obiangeli's daughter. After Obiangeli's 1 year of mourning elapsed, their kinsmen began to push for Chimampa's husband Ikechukwu to marry his late brother's wife. Chimampa was vehemently against this move, but her husband had no other option, as he was obligated by tradition to marry his late brother's wife. That was how the traditional marital rites of Obiangeli was carried out, and Obiangeli became the second wife of her best friend's husband. As the days went by, Chimampa and Obiangeli became sworn enemies. They fought over everything from the freshest cassava in the market to the ripest fruit on the trees. They could no longer stand each other's presence. Chimampa later got pregnant and gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. The two friends now had two daughters who grew up to become best of friends. However, each mother vowed to turn her daughter against the other. They whispered poison into their daughters' ears, telling them lies about the other's family, trying to sow seeds of discord in their hearts. But Ozioma and Chisom, their daughters, were wise beyond their years. They saw through their mother's schemes and recognized the love they had for each other. They knew that their friendship was more important than the rivalry that had consumed their mothers. One day, this was a few years later, when Ozioma and Chisom were all grown, their mothers had a great fight and warned them not to see or talk to each other again. Their mom said to them that if they were ever caught chatting or hanging out together, they would wish they were never born. Ozioma and Chisom stayed away from each other, and this began to affect them greatly as they could not understand why they had to suffer for their mother's personal rivalry. One day, everyone was home when they heard a loud scream. They all rushed to check who it was and what had happened. To their greatest surprise, they saw Obiangeli laying on the floor unconscious. This was shocking to everyone as Obiangeli seemed fine earlier. They rushed her to the nearby healer who revealed that Obiangeli had been poisoned. It was a deadly poison and time was running out. Panic spread through the room as they desperately searched for answers. No one knew how she was poisoned, so her daughter Chisom went on to investigate and realized that her mother mistakenly took a very deadly herb, thinking that it was edible. Everyone began to pray for Obiangeli to live and not die. Chimampa's heart sank as she realized the severity of the situation. She knew that despite their differences, her best friend's life was in grave danger. She tried to ignore and act as though she did not care, but she found herself restless and couldn't ignore her feelings anymore. She put all their differences aside and began to look after her friend Obiangeli. Chimampa stayed by Obiangeli's side all through, praying to God to spare Obiangeli's life. Chimampa remembered all the good times she shared with Obiangeli and regretted ever judging her harshly for something she had no control over. Obiangeli was forced by tradition to marry her husband and had no other choice as she had a child for her husband who died. Chimampa then realized that she had not been a supportive friend to Obiangeli since her husband died. She prayed that if Obiangeli ever regained her health, she would apologize for all she had done wrong and make amends. Not long after saying this prayer, Chimampa noticed that Obiangeli had regained her consciousness. Chimampa, without wasting any time, got down on her knees and began to plead for forgiveness. She realized that all this while, the love she had for her friend Obiangeli was still intact, but was overshadowed by anger and resentment as she resented Obiangeli for marrying her own husband. The thought of losing Obiangeli made Chimampa realize how much she loved her best friend and would love to still be friends with her. The memories of their laughter and shared secrets came flooding back as they decided to forgive each other and apologize for all their wrongs. Obiangeli, still weak from the poison, managed to whisper, "Chimampa, I forgive you. We have let this feud destroy us for too long." Chimampa, with tears in her eyes, replied, "Obiangeli, I'm so sorry for everything. Let's start afresh for the sake of our daughters and the friendship we once had." Their daughters, witnessing this emotional moment, erupted in applause. It was a reconciliation that brought tears of joy to their eyes. As Obiangeli slowly recovered from the poison, the two families mended their broken bonds. Ozioma and Chisom were overjoyed to see their mothers laughing and talking together once again. From that day on, the two families lived in unity and harmony. Obiangeli and Chimampa learned the true value of friendship and forgiveness, and their daughters carried the lesson of reconciliation with them throughout their lives. The lesson to be learned from this story is that the power of forgiveness and the strength of genuine friendship can mend even the most broken bonds. The story teaches us that grudges and resentment can only lead to pain and suffering, while letting go of the past and embracing forgiveness can bring about healing and happiness. This story reminds us that it's never too late to reconcile with loved ones, and that the love between friends can endure through even the harshest of trials, ultimately leading to a life filled with unity and harmony. I hope you enjoyed the story. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.